What's up, everybody? Tom Pelissero here with Judd Zulgad. After the Vikings, Judd, win to make the playoffs, finish with a 10-win season, 4-2 in the NFC North Division, and win a shootout against the Green Bay Packers, 37-34, which the way this game panned out actually was not that big of a surprise to me. I thought that was the way that the Vikings had a chance to win this game. Christian Ponder made more plays than I expected he was going to need to, but now they suddenly go to Lambeau Field, having won 4 consecutive games, having beaten this exact same team on their home turf today. This is going to be an interesting matchup, because anytime you get the same two teams playing twice in a row, there's not going to be probably a ton of surprises, not going to be full-on schematic switches. You're playing them the best way that you think possible. How do you then come up with another game plan to be able to go there and win Lambeau Field next weekend?
Well, and here's a question, too. Can any Packers or Vikings fans take another game like this today? You know, say what you will about the Metrodome. Lousy stadium, bad venue, blah, blah, blah. This building has seen some of the most entertaining sporting events in the history of sports, and today was another. I mean, if you were just a fan today, just watching this game, the ebbs, the flows, the questionable calls, everything that happened, today's game, if you didn't care who won, was highly entertaining. Highly entertaining.
And let's just look ahead now to next week's game. I think the Vikings' clear concern right now is the fact that Antoine Winfield re-injured the hand. Leslie Frazier was very non-committal about Winfield's status after the game, saying that even whether they play Saturday or Sunday could impact his availability for that game. Then by the end, Harrison Smith dropped out for a while with his shoulder. On that last Packers touchdown drive, their secondary included Marcus Sherrills, Chris Cook, Mr. Raymond, Jamarcus Sanford, and A.J. Jefferson.
And I was told by Chris Cook. He said, "Hey, we're all trained to play, man. It's not a big deal." Antoine Winfield, by the way, I asked him how he was doing, and I said, "Can you play?" And he said, "I don't know. We'll have to see." And then he took his hands and showed them to me. This hand, the right hand, was about twice the size of the left hand.
Really?
It looked like a club. It looked like he had a club. That was no tape on the hand. So swollen, it looked like a club.
Well, that's probably does not bode particularly well. And Marcus Sherrills is their backup slot guy. I wonder if they'll experiment with some different people in there. Perhaps see if somebody but it's probably not a huge upgrade here to put Josh Robinson out there, because Josh Robinson's got his issues at this point too. But that ball where Marcus Sherrills lets Jordy Nelson run right past him, I mean, those are the plays that the Packers are probably going to try to exploit over and over and over again if they know they can keep Marcus Sherrills out there for 50 snaps. It's a difficult matchup. What the Vikings did well in this game, though, was they diagnosed what the Packers were doing schematically. And I pointed out to you on the very first series of the game, which was they were bringing down a safety on the strong side of the formation. And so there were going to be opportunities not just to pop things out the weak side in the running game, but also to take some shots deep. The Packers were not doing a ton of disguise. You basically knew pre-snap what they were going to be, and we saw the Vikings take some shots deep. And oh yeah, Christian Ponder, I like this crack when he said, "I don't have the arm strength to make that throw, but apparently I made it anyway." That thing went 46 yards in the air beyond the line of scrimmage.
Christian Ponder, again, you know what he did. He played. He might not be great at this point, but he's playing pretty well. That throw to Jarius Wright was a heck of a throw.
Not the one that went 30 feet straight up in the air.
Not the one, no, because that's when he got hit. But I mean, seriously, you look at Michael Jenkins. The touchdown pass to Michael Jenkins,
it's a tough throw.
Easily could have been intercepted. It's a tight window. He got it in there. Christian Ponder, Adrian Peterson is the superstar of this team. But if Christian Ponder doesn't play a good game today, they don't win. And he played a good game. He played a very good game, I thought. And the throw to Jarius Wright was a great throw.
And the one to Michael Jenkins, too, on 3rd and 11 late, where he settles down in the zone. They got the look that they were expecting on that play, and Ponder was able to put the ball in there. 16-28, 234, 3 touchdowns, no picks, 120.2 rating. Now, again, if that pop-up throw gets picked off, then we're talking about a different sort of a game, and that would be a critical error at that point. That's one where when Ponder sees the safety blitz coming free, he's either got to get out of there, or he's got to throw the ball away, or he's got to just say, "I'm going to take the sack." You can't do what he did, which is try to force a ball down the middle. But that was also one of those plays where you and I looked at each other and said, well, this may be their day. They may just get the breaks that they need here. They got a couple of them. They also had some bizarre things happen in the course of this game, too. You have the really strange replay review that remains somewhat a point of contention at this point. Talking to some people in the locker room after the game, they were not pleased. You know it's bad when you've got the Vikings executives coming downstairs and talking to the replay official, trying to get an explanation of exactly what happened. In the end, the referees missed the call. That was the initial problem. They could have called two things. They could have called he's down by contact or it's a touchdown. They instead call a fumble, which it wasn't even close to being a fumble, and they set off this entire chain of events.
They got the call right, but the interpretation of this rule, but this rule in itself, too, and
it's a goofy rule.
And we're talking about the fact that you technically, if your coach, cannot challenge a play that's already going to be reviewed regardless, which includes change of possession and touchdowns. Well, after the Detroit-Houston debacle on Thanksgiving, the league had a chance to change it, and the league was adamant saying we're not going to change any rules mid-season. This is why you changed the rule mid-season. This shouldn't be an issue. It's a stupid rule, and actually Mike Carey, even if he did the wrong thing to get the call right. That's why I didn't have a huge problem with it, because they did get the call right. They blew the call on the field, and there's no reason to blow the call twice. They gave the Packers a 15-yard penalty, but they didn't blow that call. You know what else they got right? They got the Adrian Peterson, we thought it was a fumble, and it wasn't called right. So at the end of the day, if they get these calls right via replay, the league needs to make some adjustments. The rules are stupid at times, and I was glad that Mike Carey basically said, look, I'm going to find a way to get around this and get this call right, because it would have been a shame for Green Bay if they had muffed that call. It would have been stupid.
Leslie Frazier was not pleased, though. You don't see Leslie Frazier run 30 yards down the line trying to get after Mike Carey, and he was still not pleased after the game either.
Spielman and Brzezinski, like you said, bolted down into the press box where the replay people were to voice their displeasure, or at least see what the heck was going on. I'm telling you, Tom, it's why they should have changed the rule mid-season. It's why the league shouldn't be so adamant about we're not going to change the rule mid-season. No, if it's a dumb rule, change it.
Adrian Peterson, 34 carries for 199 yards and a touchdown. It's absolutely fantastic. The last run that he had, and granted he ends up coming up 9 yards short of breaking Eric Dickerson's record, but that's the one that I said, the guy's the MVP. And let's be clear here, the offensive line has done a great job. His lead blocker has done a great job. Bill Musgrave and Jeff Davidson have done a great job scheming things up to continue to get the run game going, but he persistently does things that you just don't see other people do. And he bounces off tackles, and he stiff arms people. And he racked up, you think about this is the 1-year anniversary of Adrian Peterson lying on an operating table and having his left knee reconstructed, and a lot of people, including me, sitting around and saying, is the guy going to be the same player again? You always believed it with Peterson that he had the work ethic and he had the belief and he'd try to get back, but is he going to be the same guy? We certainly didn't think it was going to happen this year, because all medical research and everybody you've ever looked at who's come off an ACL says it's a process. This guy, for the first 4 weeks of the season, couldn't get left or right. They were running right all the time because he couldn't plant properly off his left leg, and he got over 2,000 yards.
And a lot of us said he shouldn't be playing at the time. A lot of us said in training camp, hey, hold him out the first couple games. It's not that big a deal. And Adrian Peterson, as we found out, went ballistic when they put him on the PUP list to start training camp. This is one of the great stories, and here's why he is the MVP of this league. This league is designed for quarterbacks. It's designed for quarterbacks to succeed. It's designed for passing games to succeed. Peyton Manning is a great story. Peyton Manning, I will give the comeback player of the year to, okay? He had neck surgery. That can paralyze you. Peterson had a very serious surgery, but it's now become somewhat routine. But you take Adrian Peterson off the Minnesota Vikings, and if you think for 1 second we're sitting here talking about a playoff team, you're absolutely crazy. Adrian Peterson defines, by definition, if you look up what the most valuable player of the league should be, Adrian Peterson, his picture should be there for this season. Peyton Manning's a great story. He's not the MVP. Peterson is. And I think he won it today.
Peyton Manning also joined a team that went to the playoffs last year.
I mean, every argument you can make about Peyton Manning, Peterson has a better argument. And like I said, I think the one thing, right or wrong, and I don't necessarily agree with this, but I do think it happened today, in coming up, 9 yards short of the single-season record. He's now had the second-best season ever, single-season rushing record. He won the MVP today. I think he swayed all those voters who said, let's wait and see. He got this team in the playoffs. There's nothing more you can do if you're Adrian Peterson.
Other credit where it's due, the receiving corps did make some plays today. Michael Jenkins in particular goes down, makes a couple of tough catches for them. Continued excellence from Blair Walsh, and the fact that guy now remains perfect from over 50 yards. It looked for all the world like the Vikings were trying to set up a 50-plus yard field goal to win the game because they knew they could, because the guy's been so automatic. Peterson ends up breaking off a couple of runs, and they get it shorter than that. But there have been a lot of people. Brian Robinson, who I just talked to down in the locker room,
he's a mess.
Who is in extreme pain. He said it felt like someone was taking a chainsaw to his arm through the whole second half once the shot wore off. Once he'd taken some hits on it, he comes up with a huge strip sack in this game. Everson Griffin steps up and gets to the quarterback 3 times. You had a bunch of guys finding ways. On a day where your secondary is depleted, you have guys on the defensive line stepping up and making plays. And on a day where you're facing maybe the best quarterback in the NFL, your quarterback, your receivers find a way to make enough plays in the passing game to keep this thing going. They want to shoot out against the Green Bay Packers. I'm excited to see that game next Saturday or Sunday in Green Bay.
No matter what you think of the Vikings, and we have certainly been critical of them at times, Jerome Simpson in particular, who doesn't like you much.
No, apparently not.
No matter what you say about this Vikings team, they go to Houston and they win a game. That's impressive. I don't care how bad Houston played that day. You win in Houston, that's impressive. And then you come back and you beat the Packers in the Metrodome against a quarterback who puts up great stats indoors. This is not far back in '94 where Favre fell apart. Aaron Rodgers doesn't fall apart. These 2 victories are impressive. One last thing about the defensive ends, too. Both of them playing basically with one arm. Jared Allen has been for a while. He's going to need surgery. Brian Robinson today plays with one arm. You know what? They've gotten a ton of guys who have really performed well, and they deserve credit for this.
They went 4 in a row to end the season, 3 of them against teams that won at least 10 games this season. that in itself is pretty impressive. We're going to be heading to Lambeau next weekend. You ready?
Am I going for sure, you think?
I'd kind of like the help.
Okay, I'll come along.
He's Judd. I'm Tom. Full Vikings coverage, as always, at 1500 ESPN.com. We'll see you.